Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another week of Paranormal Pals podcast. Unfortunately, Barbara and Natasha are not available to be with us this evening, but I would like to welcome Kat Ward, who is our guest speaker this week from the Canadian Supernatural Research Society in Canada, of course. Good evening, Kat. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm a little bit chilly. As I said earlier, we're at 3 degrees, which is
Yep.
kind of cold for my
Yep.
area. What's it like over your way?
Right now, it's nice. It's 24 degrees, feeling like 28.
God, you're making us all jealous that are watching this. Well, you're definitely making me jealous. Anyway, I thought what we'd chat about this evening is we'll start off, and the first question I've got to ask you, and I've got some notes over here, so if you see me double checking, that's what I'm looking at.
I might be taking notes as well, so.
Absolutely, go fill your boots.
Okay.
What got you into this? What got you into the field?
Oh, well, it's something that I've always been fascinated with ever since I was little. So I live in Ontario, Canada right now, but I'm originally from the East Coast in a province called New Brunswick. And my parents and I lived in this 3-story apartment building. We lived on the top floor. It was a very, very old building. And it was so old that when it was first built, they had a coal furnace in the basement to heat the building. But by the time
Right.
yeah, so I don't know the exact year that it was built, but it did have a coal furnace. But by the time we moved in, it was all electric heat. But that's where I had my very first encounter with the Hat Man. So we lived in the apartment from the age of 5 till I was about 13, and I saw him often enough, but it wasn't every night. But he was a 4-foot tall one.
Oh,
Yeah, he was not the tall one, and, even now my father talks about the, night terrors I used to have while living in that apartment. So I would scream, "The man in the closet, the man in the closet," so my parents would come running because I had a big walk-in closet in my bedroom, and, there's there was one day my father he didn't really believe in the paranormal back then. I think he does now. Yep, that's the photo of him.
that's the
Um
photo you sent me, wasn't it?
yeah, it is, yes. So, my father tried to ease my conscience, and one day he brought me into the closet and said, "See, kiddo, there's nothing here at night that isn't here during the daytime." Well, that me being me, I looked at him and I said, "You mean he's here in the daytime too?"
Oh,
And he's
bless.
just like, "Oh, no." So I was afraid of my bedroom for, during night and day for the longest time. Um, Fast forward, many, many years, I never really spoke to anybody about the Hat Man to friends or anything like that, and I was listening to a podcast, a paranormal podcast, and they were talking about the Hat Man, and but the guest, he was saying that his was the tall one, and I thought, well, the description he was giving was similar to the one that I used to see, but mine was short. So at the end of the show, I messaged the hosts and saying, "Love the show. I saw the same thing, but mine was short." So one of the hosts, because it was two guys, um, one of them messaged me back and said, "You need to watch this video." And I watched this video, and it's exactly the same thing that I saw as a child, and this man wanted to reenact, what he saw as a child as well, and I
Okay.
could not believe I didn't even know that this entity had a name at the time. So I thought, "Wow, there's other people that have seen this, but it was a different height." And it's just so fascinating, and even though we moved away from the apartment and I've never seen the entity again, he's excuse me, he's never left my mind. I've always wondered,
Mm.
what is he? Where did he come from? Why was he living in my closet?
Do you know,
I
it's surprising the amount of people that start in this field because of a personal experience when they were a
Yep,
child, isn't it?
it is. I've only come across one person who's never had a paranormal experience before, but absolutely they have a paranormal podcast, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, that's different," but, yeah, it's kinda neat, but yeah, he's never really left my mind. He's always back there because I didn't know what he was. I
Well,
have
I can
2.
imagine he would always be sitting there, to be quite honest, after seeing that.
Yeah, and then I still have dreams of him and the old apartment building that I used to live in. So, my family and I moved to Ontario. My husband's retired military now, but we moved to a military community, and I had a friend message me saying, "There's a lady that is looking to start a paranormal team, and I know that's right up your alley. So I
Oh,
messaged
wow.
Yep. So I messaged her. Her name's Katie Turner. She's a very well-known psychic medium here in Canada as well, and in the States, she's well known. So we had a little meet and greet at a local coffee shop, and just to see if everybody wanted to join, if we'd be a good fit. And I've been with them for quite a few years. The past few years, well, since COVID, I haven't really done a lot of investigating. The job that I have now, I work the front desk at a hotel, and my schedule doesn't really seem to
Oh,
mesh with the rest of the team. So I kind of say that I'm on hiatus right now, but I'm still in touch with them. And so I joined the team, and yeah, it's just been amazing how many people that we've encountered having so many paranormal experiences.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the team you're with. What's it called?
Canadian Supernatural Research Society.
Yep.
Currently, we are four ladies. There's
Mhm.
Katie Turner, there's April, there's Liz, myself. Oh, there's five, and there's a new one. Oh, I think her name is Diane. I am so sorry. I can't remember her. I've never actually met her. That's how long since I've done an investigation. But we started out, we were nine people, and then it just kind of like petered out over the years. Just people with real life gets in the way sometimes.
Oh, it does, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
quantum, when we started quantum 15 years ago, there was 13 investigators.
Wow,
And I
that's
think at
large.
one stage we got down to 4 active investigators.
Mhm.
Excuse me, and that was it. That's all we had. And the other thing is, I kind of like to have a biggish pool because not everyone can make every investigation.
That's right,
Not
yep.
everyone, and with New Zealand, we've got to travel for a lot of our investigations. We don't
Mhm,
have them on our doorstep. So we might fly down to the South Island, which we've
mhm,
done, or we might travel down the island
mhm,
or go 3 hours distance away. And because our investigators are all in different parts of New Zealand, sometimes
mhm.
we can't get them all together. So it's kind of good to have a few that you can pull on. So when
It
people
sure is.
don't want to, can't be bothered, are sick, don't have the funds, all the rest of it,
Yeah,
can't get off work or whatever the case may be, that you've got other people to pull on. Is nothing I hate worse than getting an investigation and then thinking, oh my gosh, I just don't have the people to go and do this investigation.
yep,
Um, and it's a safety issue going on my own.
yes.
So I've always got to at least have one other person with me. So anyway, it's not about quantum. So your group, what perspective do they come from? Do they come from a scientific perspective? Do they come from a metaphysical perspective? Do they just deem themselves as being ghost hunters rather than investigators? What's the go there?
Well, we have, the lead investigator, Katie Turner. She is crazy talented as a psychic medium. I've never met anyone so, talented in that field in my life. Like, she's really amazing. The rest of us all have a few little abilities as well, but not like Katie. So, what we like to do is just because it goes bump in the night doesn't mean that it's haunted. So, for example, we had this one location, it was, an old house turned into a spa, a day spa, and the main location, where they check people in and, where you can pay, that's where they were having a lot of paranormal activity, and we noticed on the back wall that there's a big cabinet there, so we asked them and with the EMF detectors, it was just lighting up like a Christmas tree, so we asked, "What's behind the cupboard?" You opened it up, and it was the circuit breaker.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep, and we said, "You need to get an electrician in first of all, because this is what is causing your, um paranormal experiences at this location. It doesn't mean the rest of the building is not haunted, it just means that," so we always try and get to the root of what's happening.
Yeah.
My father used to be an electrician, not an electrician, a radio tech with, Canadian National, well, he worked with a train here in Canada.
Oh yes. Yep.
He fixed radios.
Oh my
So he gave me a thing, it's called a wire finder, because there was so often we go do investigations, and I was like, "I wonder why behind this wall or under this floor we're getting high EMF." And, clients don't really like for you to be making holes in their walls and floors.
No,
So,
no,
yeah. So,
absolutely not.
no. So this wire finder was a game changer. It told us if there was anything under, if there was any live wires, which would explain why we're having EMF readings on the detector. So yes, we firmly believe in the paranormal and in ghosts and everything, but like I said, just because it goes bump in the night doesn't necessarily mean it's ghosts. So
Yeah.
we like to figure out what's going on.
Cool. That's awesome. That's pretty
Yeah.
much where we come from. Although probably the two people who are actively involved in organizing things and running things are probably the two biggest skeptics of the whole group, to be quite honest with you.
I think you need
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you. Everything is non-paranormal to us, or to me and her at any rate. Everything is non-paranormal until everything that it could possibly be has been completely and utterly eliminated.
Yes.
And that's really hard to do. When you are actively doing that, it is really hard to eliminate every possible mundane explanation that could account for these occurrences. Sometimes it's easy, but 9 times out of 10, it's really difficult.
Yep.
So just interestingly enough, before we get on to now we're getting into some of the interesting stuff, actually. Tell me about some of your memorable experiences. I'm not saying you necessarily say that they're paranormal, but you couldn't find anything to atone for them being a mundane occurrence.
Yep.
Tell me about some of those. Let's go through some of those.
I think the first one at the top of my mind is the very first investigation I did with the team. It was this elderly gentleman. He was 94, and he was having activity in his home. So one of the team members actually knew him. So he said, "Hey, we just got a team put together. Let's go, cut our teeth, and we'll go investigate your house." And he was such a sweet old man. He had his little walker, and we made him an honorary member. So he had the EMF. Yep, he had the little EMF detector on his walker, and he'd follow us. It was really neat. But so there was the master bedroom that Katie and I were in, and then one of the spare bedrooms just next to it where everyone else from the team was, including the client. And Katie and I asked if there's anyone here, please give us a few knocks. So we heard some knocks, and we thought, okay, it's probably the team in the bedroom next to us messing with us. So we asked again, but then we realized, no, it's coming from the other side of the bedroom, completely away from the other bedroom next to us. So it gave us some knocks again. And it's like, okay. So then we asked for a specific number of knocks. Now, I can't remember how many we asked for, and it gave us a specific number of knocks. We were giddy like children in a candy shop. We were so excited. This is my very first paranormal investigation, and we're already getting something. We were all very excited. Katie had already done investigations before, but this is really my first one. And that was very exciting.
Oh, wow. What about your next one?
My next one, probably in the location that I'm living now. This couple called us and said, well, actually, it was a coworker of mine. They had a fire in their house, and they did some renovations. And then they said, yeah, we're having some activity in the house. Like, okay, not a problem. So we'll go investigate. And we have, I don't know if you call it the same thing over there. It's called the ovulus.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you pre-program it with words, and it just supposedly the entity will pull the words out to be able to answer the question that you're asking. Mm-hmm. So we had asked what started the fire. We didn't know what started it. And all it said was wires kitchen. So we looked at the our clients, and they said, yeah, the fire started. It was an electrical fire that started in the kitchen. And It's just so amazing that, yes, it could spit out any kind of words from the database, but specific words that you just asked. I mean, that was amazing too. Yeah.
Have you actually witnessed anything visually?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't think I've actually I sense them. My back gets all tingly. I call it my spider senses. I've never actually seen them with my eyes. I've seen them in photos. There was this one investigation. Oh, it was kind of neat. So every one of the team could hear meowing from a cat, like through our natural ears. We could hear meowing. She had no pets. It's like, okay, fine. She had holy water throughout her house. She had an old mirror that she had a blanket covering it. And one of the things that she was saying was something is jumping on her bed at night and it's freaking her out. And there was a few other things happening in her home as well. So I'm manning the camera, the digital camera, the not for snapshots. Oh my God, I can't.
Video camera?
Yes, thank you. Oh, good grief. It's after 11 here in Canada. I'm a little sleepy. So the person next to me was taking pictures. We had April was sitting in the stairway and she was asking questions and I had the video camera and I'm not really big on orbs because it could be dust, it could be bugs, it could even be your hair,
Absolutely.
Yep. But I did see an orb go up the stairs and then move. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, later on, I probably should have sent you pictures of this. Later on, we're looking through the photos that we took, and the timestamp was the same time that I saw the orb, and there was a picture of a cat sitting in the stairs behind April. And it looked like it was kind of manifesting. It wasn't like a full, but you can absolutely tell it was a cat. So when we showed that to the client, she says, "That's my cat that passed away a few months ago."
Oh,
And
wow.
we could hear the meowing as well on the audio footage, not just our
Oh,
own ears.
cool.
Like, it was amazing. So then we started to ask her, "Well, when you're sleeping and you feel something on your bed, where is it? What's it doing?" She says, "It's something by my feet." And then it dawned on her, that was the cat. It was her cat curling up at her feet. And we actually got photos of the cat, which was amazing. And
Wow.
yeah, she confirmed it when we showed her the photos that, yeah, that's my cat. So that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, absolutely would have been.
Yeah.
I can't say that I've seen something
Mhm.
on my first investigation I was ever on.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't see it. I saw it through the monitor.
Okay.
I was manning all the CCTVs and watching the monitor,
Mhm.
and I had 2 other witnesses that were with me. One was another team member who I eventually ended up starting quantum with,
Mm.
and another one was a barman that worked in the place. Now, I had previously taken a few lectures in their function space upstairs. It was actually 2 floors and a ground floor. And the
Mhm.
ground floor was the bar and restaurant. The space upstairs was a function room area, which they had activity in. And then there was a 3rd floor up the top that was used as a storage space only. And that is where I saw it. And these other 2 witnesses saw it as well. But it was actually quite unusual in the respect of it started off as a black blob,
Mhm.
grew arms, a head, and then legs last of all, stood up, walked across the room, walked into an investigator. The investigator promptly collapsed on the floor, and then it walked out and it ran through the wall where I had been standing in front of about 3 hours earlier, staring at the wall. And my co-founder of the Quantum Foundation, it was the first time we met each other. It was at both of our first investigations as
Mhm.
with this particular group. And she said, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "I don't know. There's something weird about this wall." And she said, "What do you mean weird?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe there was a doorway here before or
Mhm.
something. But I'm kind of getting," and this is not how I do investigations, but I said, "I'm kind of getting a sensation of like people coming and going
Mhm.
through the wall. So I reckon there was a door here before."
Yep.
Um, and that's exactly where he disappeared through. He
Wow.
didn't come out of the wall though. He formed in the corner, the back corner of the room. But I saw him as clear as a bell. But he was as I said, he was black to begin with, but then he was made up of thousands and thousands of tiny little pinpricks of light. And you could quite clearly see this.
Yep.
But you couldn't see him when people stopped taking photos and their flash wasn't working.
That's interesting.
The minute that stopped, he disappeared from the monitor. He just wasn't there anymore.
Mhm.
So when I radioed to them and said, guys, I think I'm seeing something. Can you guys furiously take some photos? Because I think there was about 7 investigators up there.
Wow.
And they started snapping. He was there again. And then they stopped and he wasn't there. And I said, guys, just do it. Constantly have those flashes going.
Mhm.
Just constantly have it going. So they did. And we watched him do everything that he did. So I really do think that there's something that is based in the light spectrum that we're not quite getting right. Now, I know people have done, I mean, I know all about full spectrum, well, supposedly full spectrum cameras. Well, they're not actually full spectrum cameras. That's a bit of an oxymoron because they don't look at the full spectrum because they don't do X-ray. So, and that is part of the spectrum as well. So I suppose if you want to be correct, they're multi-spectrum cameras rather than full spectrum. And I know people have experimented with UV as well. But there's definitely something that we're missing with regards to that. So I think that's quite an interesting and it is like a strobe light effect when lots of flashes are going off. So something that I haven't done, but we've spoken about doing, and that is getting a strobe light and using it in these allegedly haunted locations, just so that we can see if there is anything in that, because that's the only time I've ever seen something with my own eyes. I can honestly state that that's the only time I actually know that's not true. But I wasn't on an investigation. That's the difference. You know, I wasn't actually on an investigation. And the most beautiful thing about that was I had a witness in the car with me that saw exactly what I saw too. So, and there wasn't any leading. It was just corroboration. So they're probably the only 2 times I've seen anything. And when you think about it, most groups don't capture anything visually, do they?
No, not a lot. No.
It's
usually on film or
yeah, it's a very rare occurrence that somebody pops up with something that they've captured on video or camera where it hasn't come out at a later date that it's false. I mean, if you're getting a YouTuber, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to believe a YouTuber if they're taking videos on going on paranormal investigations, because to my mind, they're not investigators, they're content creators, right?
Yes, I agree. Yep.
So they have a vested interest in making sure something appears on camera, like, you know, one of the other investigators, or somebody that you don't know that's at the location maybe and that hasn't been shown on camera. And the same with the TV programs.
Yes.
And it's getting so hard nowadays that if someone did actually capture something, no one's going to believe them anyway because of the amount of tomfoolery that can go on.
Yes.
Unfortunately. So,
I have to give kudos to these TV shows because I feel that they've kind of made the paranormal not so taboo, I guess. It's a little bit more normal. People can actually talk about the paranormal now, and I think it's because of these TV shows.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think, yes, they've done great for that, but I also think, wow, they've done really bad because they're displaying paranormal investigations in a light where it just isn't the way it is. Like, you can go on 25 paranormal investigations and get nothing. And let's face it, most investigations, you get nothing. Absolutely nothing. And considering that you're only there for, I don't know, 5-hour period. I mean, normally we do overnights till 3 or 4 a.m. So we go hardcore, but you know, you're you're only there for a certain amount of time.
Yep.
And if you expect something to happen within that amount of time, sorry, I'm going really dark, and it's
No,
probably how
the
I'm
light.
situated.
No, the light just keeps fading and gets brighter. It's really weird.
Yeah, I think it might be my camera actually.
Oh.
But you kind of have to think that they're displaying paranormal investigating in a very unrealistic light. You know, they go in, they're in there 20 minutes, or the program's running for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They're in there and they're getting EVPs and they're getting bangs and they're getting knocks and they're getting all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I mean, I've sat through hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of EVP, and I think we've only ever had one I would deem as a class A.
Hmm.
We've had others where we can't make out every word that's been said.
Yep.
But we can't say that that wasn't something from outside. I mean, these recorders are so sensitive. It can be outside contamination. So we've kind of got into the habit when we can of leaving a recorder outside and stashing it somewhere where it's not easily seeable, of course.
Yep.
Because that kind of, when we review that, if we do capture something, then we can go to that audio recorder and we can see whether it's louder on that audio recorder. And if it is, then the chances are it's pretty self-explanatory that you can put that down to an outside contamination source.
Yep.
But yeah, we've probably only really had one that I would say class A, clear as a bell, cannot mistake it. And it was only one word, and it was kind of exclaimed in a very gruff old man voice when we were actually investigating a old miners pub.
Oh.
Yeah, so it kind of all fitted. And with what he exclaimed at was actually me farting very, very loudly. And I didn't know it was coming, so I got a bit of a shock myself, and I said, "Oh, excuse me." And then the next minute there was a "Hey," like that, which, you know, obviously in those days, ladies didn't do those things.
No.
So that's probably why I say, ever be told off by a ghost? I have, for farting. You know, but it's my claim to fame, apparently.
I have to mention one of the investigations we did, the one where it was a friend of mine, and it was the electrical fire in the kitchen. So there was
Yes, yep.
myself and a teammate downstairs, and they had 3 bedrooms, I think, downstairs and a bathroom, but everybody else was upstairs. So I don't know what I ate that evening, but I was a little gassy. So I entered one of the bedrooms, and Chris came behind me, and, well, you know, I turned around and looked at Chris and said, "Oh, I am so sorry." So didn't say anything else after that. So then we continued the investigation in that bedroom. So we go out into the hall, and then I'm holding the ovulus, and Chris goes, "I can't believe you farted at me." And then the ovulus says, "Awkward." We could not stop laughing. Oh my, we were crying. It was so Katie
Oh,
comes
gosh.
downstairs and she's like, "They were watching us on the camera upstairs." So she comes down, she goes, "What?" So I had to give
I
her my
would have
equipment. I
lost
said,
it.
"Just Chris will tell you, I gotta go compose myself." So I went upstairs and, you know, just crying and laughing at the same time. It's just
I
like,
would have
ah,
completely lost it.
yeah. And then the team, even now, they'll say, "Okay, no awkward moments tonight, okay, Kat?"
I mean, like we've said before with our people, I get the same thing now.
Yeah.
If you run an EVP session, you'll probably only get Tracy farting anyway. Um, we went and did one place which is like very well known for being allegedly haunted. I say allegedly all the time. And how a growling stomach can really sound like a demon, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
can. Yep.
And all you heard through this 15-minute EVP session was this person's stomach growling and her going, "Oh, sorry, that was me." And then 2 minutes go by, "Oh, sorry, that was me." And I was like, "Jesus, we've just had a 4-course dinner before we came here."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing how things can be really misconstrued over EVPs as well.
Oh, yes.
And that one where I heard that old man say, "Hey," at me, I when people said to me, "Did you hear it in real time?" I said no, but it kind of came back to me as the months went by that actually, you know what? I think I did hear something, but I just didn't think anything of it at the time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, that's just Ian being stupid behind me. But actually, it wasn't, because I checked with him, needless to say. But what I reckon, has there been any investigations you've done, Kat, where you've actually felt scared for whatever reason, whether or not you've not seen anything, you've not previously felt anything, you've not heard anything, but just all of a sudden you feel really uncomfortable or you actually feel frightened at all?
Well, there was this one time that we were investigating this very old building in town, and we usually meet at the local coffee shop, have coffee, chat a little bit about the investigation, and then go to the location. So we had some coffee in us, and we all had to use the washroom after a while because we had coffee.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to use the bathroom. We'd go in and we're like, nope, I'm gonna wait. And all of us, we don't know why. So we don't know if there was like high EMF in there that we were picking up on or what it was, but none of us wanted to use the washroom. And
Oh,
we're
wow.
and the person living in the house said, "Oh, use the facilities all you want." We're like, "Okay, thank you very much." But yeah, each and every one of us would approach the washroom and we're like, "Yeah, nope." So when we were done, we went back to the local coffee shop and we're all running in, because we really needed to go. But yeah, that's it's probably about the only time.
Actually, that's probably the only time. You mentioning that made me think of the same investigation where that investigator's stomach was constantly growling.
Yeah.
We never, and it's a rule that we've always had in the Quantum Foundation because we're all about controlled environments,
Mhm.
that you never go anywhere alone. You always go two up.
Yep.
There's always two of you at the same time. And that includes when you go to the toilet. Now, people will say to me, I'll say, can you come to the toilet with me? And they'll go, oh, what's the matter? You're scared. And I'm like, well, no, I just want to use the loo. But the rule is we don't go alone. Oh, yeah, sorry, forgot about that.
Yeah.
There was this one night when we were in this supposedly very haunted location. And it's one of the only castles we've got. What's called a castle. It's not. It's a great big manor house, but they call it a
Mm.
castle because it's built
Mhm.
of stone. And it was the only castle that New Zealand's got, that's ancient at any rate, not a modern replica.
Mhm.
And we were actually in the stables, in the stable area, and we were, because what we do is when we finish, we sit down and we have wines. We don't do coffee, we do wines. And so it was probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're sitting down. We'd finished investigating for the night, and we're sitting down having a few wines while our tech guy and a couple of the others are packing up.
Mhm.
And she goes, guys, I'm really, really tired. I'm going to go to bed. The person with the growling stomach. And well, I can say her name, Kristen, because she won't mind. And I said, okay, do you want me to walk you up? And she's like, no, I'll be all right. And I went, okay then. And I'd been into the toilet earlier and I'd asked someone to come with me, and I didn't like the toilet, the female toilet. I didn't like it one
Mhm.
iota, to the point where I said, are you still there? And they went, yeah. And I said, well, can you talk to me? Because I'm feeling really uncomfortable
Yep.
and particularly vulnerable with my pants down around my ankles. Can you talk to me? So she starts yakking away. And I came out and I said, I don't like this toilet. And she goes, actually, I was feeling a bit off myself standing here, even though I was talking to you.
Mhm.
Kristen goes up to bed later on that night. And of course, before you go to bed, go to the toilet.
Yep.
And the next minute, all you hear is a loud bang and a loud expletive of the F word. And the next minute, Kristen's coming down the stairs very hurriedly, doing up her pants and white as a sheet. And we're like, what went on there? And she went, well, I'm not I'm not going to go to bed now. I'm going to stay up for a bit. And I said, you look like you need a wine. And she goes, yeah, I think I will have a wine.
Mhm.
So she had a wine. And I said, all right, Barbara, in the meantime, is going, "What happened? What happened? We heard it from down here." And she said, "I went to the toilet," and she goes, "I have a phobia, the toilets that have got the metal buttons, knobs that you turn." She
Yep.
said, "I've been locked in a toilet in a shopping mall before, and it
Oh.
took ages before someone came and got me out." So she said, "When I've got those locks on the door, I don't lock the toilet, I stick my foot up against the door."
Mhm.
And she said, "And I just put my foot straight, my leg straight, and I hold the door closed with my foot." And I went, "Oh, okay." And she said, "And that's what I was doing." And then the next minute, someone kicked the door open on me and it slammed back. And that's why I yelled, because I got such a shock, but there was nobody in the bathroom.
Wow.
And we were all downstairs,
Mhm.
except 2 investigators who were asleep in their rooms. So yeah, she didn't go to bed for about 40 minutes after that point. So I think that's probably one of the only times that I have, and it's funny, it's a toilet again, right? But
Yeah.
you saying that reminded me of that. That's probably one of the only times that I have been, I felt so uneasy
Yep.
that I literally hung on the whole night before I went again. And then when I did go again, I asked someone to come with me.
Yep.
But yeah, that's probably the only time that I felt uneasy. Funny how both of them are a loo, eh?
I know, that's so strange.
It's very weird. Ghosts hanging out in toilets. What is all that about?
I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Anyway, enough of toilets. Tell us about some of the Canadian locations that are allegedly haunted. Whether you've been there or not, just tell us, give us some names and give us a bit of a backstory if you know a
Sure.
backstory on it, that sort of thing. Just because New Zealanders hear about the American locations,
Yep.
but we don't hear much about Canadian locations.
Yep. Yeah, so there's a place, about an hour away from here, 45 minutes to an hour. It's called Buck Hill. Um, so
I'm going to write these down and do some research
Sure,
after this,
yeah.
by the way.
Yes. So, Buck Hill, it's not too far from a national park called Algonquin Park, and there is Bigfoot sightings that have been reported there. But Buck Hill, back in the 1800s, there was this logger and his wife and daughter and little dog, and apparently it was in wintertime, and the father was outside and told he was outside. I'm trying to remember the full story. He's outside. He comes in and says, "Okay, there's a blizzard. Make sure you stay inside. Just gonna go, tidy up some stuff outside." So when he closed the door, it didn't close fully apparently, and it opened, and the dog ran out, and the little girl went to look for the dog. Um, so when the father comes back, the wife said they're gone, and so he spent the rest of his life searching for her. Never
Oh,
found her. So Buck Hill there's a few houses at the bottom of the hill, but when you go up, it's just forest on the other side, and there's no street lights. It's blacker than black. So if you don't have any light source at all, you can't even see the hand in front of your face. It's very dark. So we went up. We've been there several times actually. So the legend is if you park your vehicle facing down and you flash your lights 3 times and say "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," you're supposed to see a green light moving, approaching you, and it's supposed to be the father with his lantern looking for his daughter.
oh.
So we've been there a few times, but this one particular night, we had a guest investigate with us. It was a radio station from Toronto that wanted to just know about the paranormal. So we said, "Come on down for the weekend. We'll do a couple investigations." So we took them there, and we had little stones being thrown at us, and we never thought anything of it. It even hit Katie's vehicle and cracked the windshield a little bit. It's like, okay. And it was September, I think it was. It was in the fall time, so you could definitely hear if there was anybody walking in the forest, because it was just, you
Yeah.
hear all the crunches and snaps of the branches and whatnot. So we decided we're going to go a little further up the hill and see what we can find. So everybody had a piece of equipment, and all of a sudden, on my left, we heard this loud crash, and we all instinctively went back to back in a circle. It was so funny, and we just all screamed, and then we started to laugh, and I jokingly said, "Maybe it's Bigfoot, let's go take a look," and we all started to laugh. Well, later on, because 'cause we're there looking for ghosts, we didn't think a cryptid. So later on, we start to think, "Oh, yeah, It's not too far from Algonquin Park. There is Bigfoot sightings in the park,
And
and that
stone
makes
throwing is a Bigfoot
stones.
thing. Yeah.
Yep, yep. But when you don't have your mind set for looking
Yeah.
for Bigfoot, you just don't put two and two together at that moment. So, yeah, that was really, really interesting, and I'd like to go back sometime just to look into the wood during the daytime, just to see if there's any structures or anything that we can find. But that was
Oh, that's interesting.
it really was funny when we all instinctively went back to back in a circle, like why would we do that, you know? But yeah, we had a really good laugh after that.
Animal instinct. Animal
Yes,
instinct, I
it
would
has
say.
to be.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. There's also the Kingston Penitentiary in Kingston, Ontario. If you're familiar, we have a TV show here called Murdoch Mysteries. It takes place in the 1800s, and Murdoch is an investigator, a policeman. I'm trying to think of the actual word that they used back then. I can't remember, but anyways, he was a police detective, and sometimes they show scenes at the penitentiary there, and it's actually filmed at this Kingston Penitentiary, and it's very, very haunted. I've been trying to get the team in there for a few years now. When I first reached out to Kingston Penitentiary to see if we could bring the team there, and they said, "Yeah, it's COVID right now. It's closed. We're not taking anyone in, but once it's open again, please reach out and we'll figure out some dates." Like, awesome, great. Everybody was so excited. So after COVID, I found out they reopened. I messaged them a couple of times and they never messaged back. And I thought, oh, but you said we could go. I felt like saying, you said we could
Aw.
go. Yeah. So
And
um,
that's in Ontario.
that's also in Ontario. Yeah. Yeah. The Kingston Penitentiary.
I'll look that one up.
Yeah.
Kingston, like TON or town?
Kingston. Oh, good. Kingston, TON.
TON.
I have to look that up. Yeah. KINGSTON.
Awesome. I will do a bit of research into that one.
Yep.
Always love looking and reading about paranormal locations
Yeah.
overseas. Oh, any more?
Oh, yeah, now that I think about it, so back in New Brunswick, in, a town called Fredericton, there's this, museum there, and, they have big, what's the word I'm looking for? At the time, they had, various insects that they were showing. They had stick bugs that I'd never seen before, and the kids were just wee at the time, and, they have, various science-related things at the
Oh,
museum.
yeah.
Yeah, and so there's this one room called the shadow room. Now, I was pregnant with our first child at the time, so we just decided to go check out the building, and I didn't know what the building was before. So we go into this shadow room, so you're supposed to close the curtain, and then it's just a play of lights and showing you, different shadows that can happen with different lights. Well, I try to go in, and my husband's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I can't go in." He goes, "Just come in." So it's like something is stopping me from going in. It's like, "Well, you go in, have some fun, whatever." So it's like, okay. And of course, being pregnant, I needed to use a facility. So I go into
Mhm.
one of the washrooms. And as soon as I walked into the washroom, I felt this feel of despair and sadness and just like no sense going on anymore, you know? So when I came out, it went away. And my husband could tell from my face. He goes, "What's wrong?" And I told him. He goes, "Turn around." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Turn around." The building used to be an old jail. And I didn't know. So the washroom I
Oh.
was in used to be a cell, and they still had the
Oh,
cell door open. I didn't see it when I went in, so I walked in, closed the door, like the door, but the barred doors was always open. But yeah, I had no idea it was a jail before, and it's like, "Oh, okay."
goodness.
Yeah, so that was
That
pretty
makes sense.
interesting. Yeah. So once we had our daughter, we decided, well, we're gonna go back, and, my husband had her on his shoulders, and I said, "Just wanna check something out." I said, "Just go into that shadow room just to see if she reacts." And she kinda did. She was just like she didn't wanna go in, so we didn't force her, of course, but, She is sensitive as well, but yeah, it's so amazing. So I don't know if being pregnant, my senses were enhanced because of she had abilities as well. But I would have sensed it regardless of that I was pregnant. But
One of
it was
my
just
team
really heightened.
members, yes, I actually
Yep.
agree with you on that score. One of my team members had some horrific paranormal experiences when she was pregnant.
Oh wow.
And then when she wasn't pregnant, she didn't have them anymore.
Wow.
So anywhere else?
Yeah, so we lived in a place in Alberta called Wainwright. It's a little military town, and they have this old Wainwright hotel. It was built in
I think I've heard of this
yeah,
place.
yeah. It was built in the early 1900s, and there was a bad fire through the town. Even the fire chief's house was burnt. Like they call it the fire, the Great Wainwright Fire. So when they decided to rebuild the hotel because it was burnt, they didn't know if they were going to be building it with wood again, but they decided they were going to be using continuous concrete because they figured, well, if there's going to be another fire, we're going to use concrete. The logistics back in the early 1900s must have been so difficult trying to bring in the poured concrete. I mean, it
God, I
must
can
have been very
imagine.
difficult. Yeah. So every year they have this Wainwright haunted house. So we went, and I thought, this is great. I love it's 3 stories tall. It's a beautiful
Good.
building. It's gutted. There's no plumbing, there's no, electrical wires, there's nothing. It's just gutted. It was very beautiful in its day. So when I, told the person who was in charge of the haunted house, told him what I did, he knew the person that was, in charge of the organization that owned the hotel. So I spoke with her, and she gave me permission to go into it to, do a little investigation, which
Oh,
was
cool.
really yeah, it was really neat. So, uh, a girl that I met in the town when we first moved there said that on the 3rd floor, the top floor towards the back, there's one room in particular on the left that's very, very active. The EMF detector was just going off like a Christmas tree, and I thought, "Okay." So, sure enough, the closer we get to that particular room, the more intense the EMF is going off. And sure enough, we walk into that room and it's going off as if, there's ghosts, but I can't take that at face value. I have to find out more. So I
Yeah.
looked out the window and I found that 8 to 10 feet away from the building, the power lines were there, and there is a metal fire escape ladder. So that's why we were all so disappointed, but, you have to look into what's going on. Why do
Oh,
you think these are happening? Yeah, but an interesting
absolutely.
thing, down the hall at the other end of the building, I had my motion sensor, and it went off, and it's like, okay, obviously we did find activity in the hotel, but that one particular room, actually, we figured that that room was not haunted. It was the, electric the power lines, and we all know that they're not 100% shielded, so
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I've actually had I used to run events at a haunted location,
mhm,
and I've had a couple of odd experiences. So I do believe there is something at this location.
yeah.
Old mining hotel again,
Oh, wow.
or old miners hotel again.
Mhm,
And because I used to hold events and I used to sell tickets to members of the public, and they'd come along, and it'd be like, on average, probably 13 people or 14 people that would attend. And I'm always debunking. So if something happened, I'd be like, hold it. And everyone's like, and I'm like, okay, whoa, hold
yeah,
it. Take a breath. Have you checked that all the doors are closed?
mhm,
Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done the other? And then we find out that, okay, so the back door was actually open, which would account for that door slamming. And I'm like, there we go.
yeah.
And this attendee walked up to me and whispered, can you please stop debunking everything?
Oh, no.
And I went, no, because that is paranormal investigating. I told
Yes.
you I was going to give you guys an authentic experience.
Yeah,
This is not about getting your kicks and getting scared. This is about what it's like to come on a paranormal investigation, and this
Mhm.
is what we do. This
Yep.
is what we do." And she was like, I know, but you're just like, you're bursting in my bubble, man. And I said, well, I'm sorry about that. Go on a ghost hunt then.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, where else? Give us
Oh,
more.
uh, there is oh, when again in Wainwright, there was this, pub that was there called the Honey Pot,
I've,
and
I've heard of, I swear to God, I've heard of this
really?
place.
Wow. Maybe you've been to Wainwright and didn't know.
Or maybe I've just watched a program on it and they went
Oh,
into both
maybe.
places or
Yeah,
spoke about one and then went into another. I don't know,
yeah,
but I've heard
maybe.
of these places.
Huh.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah. No, so, the first time my husband and I went, and it was I fell in love with this pub. I've never been over across the pond, I've never been to England, but it reminded me of an English pub. That's just the style, the decorations and everything, and I could tell. I looked at my husband and I'm like, "Yeah, this place is haunted," and I found out later on that, yes, it was, and,
Oh, wow.
but I didn't have enough nerve to talk to the staff or the owner or manager and say, "Hey, can I investigate?" And I kick myself now. But,
Oh.
yeah, I did fall in love with that pub, but you could definitely tell that there was something there.
Yeah, there's been some places that I've walked into and I've gone, this place is haunted. There's for sure something going down here.
Yep.
And actually, my daughter used to walk into places and go, Mum, this place has got ghosts. And I'd go, oh, does
Yep.
it? And she'd go,
Yep.
yep. And I'd go, oh, okay. And then I'd go and talk to the staff and have a chat. And then I'd ask, and then they'd go, yeah, there are rumors about it being haunted. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, so maybe she's got the little spidey senses are working quite well at her age. I think she's only
Yep.
about 7 or 8 at the time when she used to
Oh,
do that.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywhere else?
Yeah, actually still in Wainwright. So it's an old theater. Um, my kids and I went to go see a movie. It was a horror movie.
Oh, of
And
all things.
yeah, yeah. So we go there, we get our popcorn and everything, and as soon as I stepped through the doorway so we could go, like, into the theater so we could have our seats, I just stopped and just went, "Oh my." Something was there. And then I didn't let go into the washroom. Again, the washroom. And then I found out later on that, yes, it's haunted, but the management tries to keep it hush hush. And I
Mhm.
knew someone who used to work there, and he said, "I might be able to get you to go in and investigate, but it would have to be after hours." I said, "Well, yeah, obviously, I'm not gonna go with people watching movies, you know?" I
Yeah.
said, "We can be very discreet. I'm not going to." I just had a couple of friends. I wasn't with the team because team's in Ontario. Um, but I said, "We'll be very discreet. We'll go in with our equipment. We won't tell anybody, you know, we just wanna go and find out what's going on there." That was fascinating, but Wainwright was a very out of every place that we've lived, I found that was a very, unique, location. It was very, very what's the word I'm thinking? The whole town, you could it they used to film old westerns there, I guess, back in the day.
Was it
Um
an old town?
Yes, a very old town, yeah. There's buffalo, you know, that you see, which is real like, you don't realize how big they actually are until you see them, and it's like, "Oh my."
Yeah.
But, yeah, the town was very, very unique, compared to any place that I've been in Canada that you could just feel how old the energy was there, and it just, was very fascinating for me.
So it sounds like the place to go and visit, eh?
Yes,
It's in Alberta. Yeah.
Alberta, yeah, yep.
Any other places
Oh, I'm
that
trying to
you've
think.
heard of or been
There's a
to?
there's a few places, in New Brunswick. Oh, what's the name of this hotel? Um, and I'm trying to think of the location. I think it's in St. Andrews, New Brunswick. It's a very old hotel. Um, I think they filmed part of the Shining movie there, I think. It's not called the Stanley Hotel, or is it? Anyways, I've never been in the hotel, but I've seen it, and, it's a beautiful building, and apparently it's very haunted there as well. I'd love next time I go home to New Brunswick, I definitely want to go and stay at that hotel and see what I can find.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it in the city centre or?
Well, it's a very small town. I'm just going to look it up here real quick.
Yeah, I did say earlier Kiwis are great travelers, so this will give some people some things to go and
Yeah.
see if they go to Canada.
Oh, it's called the Algonquin Resort in St. Andrews by the Sea in New Brunswick. Very old building, but I'm not quite sure how old the building is.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's I want to say 3 stories tall, but it's a very beautiful hotel, and like I said, I really want to go there. And I had a family member and her boyfriend at the time used to live in St. Andrews many years ago. She was going to art school, I think. No. Anyways, I can't remember why she was living there. The boyfriend that she was with at the time didn't believe in the paranormal, and he decided one night walking home, he was going to cut through the old cemetery there.
All right.
He
Okay.
was freaked out. I guess that's where the very last hanging in New Brunswick happened, was in St. Andrews.
Oh.
And he did not like I don't think he ever walked through that cemetery again at night. He's just like, "There's something there, and I don't like it." He was just
Oh,
really,
okay.
really frightened. Yeah.
Walking through a cemetery at night is never a good idea. I mean, I used to go to cemeteries at night
Me too,
and
yeah.
sit there when I was a teenager with my
Yeah.
bottle of beer or whatever I had.
Yeah.
But we would just be sitting there talking, we weren't making loud ruckus noise. We weren't vandalizing anything. We were just sitting there and having a yak because I always found them quite peaceful. But
Yes, yes.
I kind of wouldn't do it now.
No, I don't think I would either. I used to do
I
a lot of
actually, I think.
graveyard walking too as a teen.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did too. And I think the older you get, the more fearful you get of things. And,
Yeah.
and do you know what I think it is? I think it's because your body can't react as quick as what it used to. And so, like, if someone said to me now, run, I'd be like, oh God, the Bigfoot can just get me because these knees aren't going to carry me very far at all.
Right?
Do you know what I mean? So
I don't run. Yeah.
yeah, I don't run. I don't do running,
No.
that sort of thing. So I kind of think maybe it's the body, maybe it's just an instinctual thing that as you get older, you get a little bit more fearful because you can't react the way you would have when you were an able-bodied 30 something, even 40 something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think maybe that's just an instinctual thing. So you are a little bit more fearful of things like, for instance, I've like triple checked that I've locked all the doors at night before I go to bed and everything's locked up tight. And there's, because I live in the middle of the country, and there's no lights shining up my driveway because we used to have lots of random cars coming up our very long tree-lined driveway. So just little things like that, because I think now that if somebody did that, like 20 years ago when I was 40, I probably could have knocked them clean off their feet.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'd be lucky if I could pull my shoulder back and throw a punch without putting me back out or my hip out or my neck out.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep. I feel
So
you.
I'm just wondering if that's why we get a little bit more scared as we get older and don't do these crazy things like strolling through graveyards in the dead of the night for peace and quiet.
Yeah.
But they are peaceful places, though. They're very much peaceful places.
It is,
but,
yeah. I've always felt really calm and at ease in places like that. I don't know why.
yeah, I've always felt a sense of when I've gone and sat in one on the bench, and we've got a very old one in Hamilton here, and quite often when I used to work in town, I used to bypass it on the way home, and it was still daylight. And if I'd had a particularly bad day at work, I'd be like, you know what, I'm pulling over, and I'd walk through the gate and I'd just go sit there for 20 minutes, half an hour, and just sit in the peace and quiet. Even though I can hear traffic going by, there seems to be a certain amount of stillness, I guess, and I just sit there and I just breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and probably dumped all my stuff on the ghosts that were wandering around there for them, all my emotional baggage from the day.
Yeah.
But you come away feeling lovely, after that point. But Oh, well, it sounds like there's a few places around in Canada. Is there
Oh,
any,
yeah.
like, is there any infamous places that you, like, haven't been to in Canada that are renowned for being haunted?
Uh, well, the Algonquin in New Brunswick, I'd love to go. There's the Banff Hotel in,
Banff. I know about that one,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'd love to go there sometime. Um, yeah, I'd like to go to Newfoundland. I guess there's a place called Signal Hill, where, oh, I'm forgetting his name, Marconi. Uh, I think he did some testing with sending signals, so they call it Signal Hill, and apparently that's very haunted as well.
Oh,
So I'd like
okay,
to go
yeah.
there, yeah.
Signal Hill,
Yep, in Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. I know about the Banff Hotel. That's been renowned for years
Yeah,
for, I can't remember what the backstory is, but I know
I
that
don't
for
know
years
either.
it's been haunted.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, you get so many, places in America. And I mean, there's places here in this country that are supposedly the most haunted place in New Zealand. I've been there. I've never felt anything.
mhm,
Some of them I've investigated. I've never felt anything, never captured anything, never seen anything,
hmm,
never once felt even remotely uncomfortable while I was there. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the ghosts were on holiday that day that I went. Oh, I don't know. But I think certain places there's lots of hype around, I think, and
yep,
that can be because of misidentification by people who don't know what they're experiencing,
mhm,
Um, like, oh, I heard a door slam and I went straight to my hotel door and I looked out the long hallway and there was no one there. Well, maybe that was because the person got back in their room
yep,
before you opened up your door and stuck your head out,
exactly, yep,
simple things like that.
yep,
Um, Now, if they say that they're the only ones on those floor, the next morning when they check with reception, because I know someone who's done that, and they say, "No, ma'am,
mhm,
you were the only one on that floor last night," and then they put it down to staff. So they asked, "Were any staff up on that floor?" "No, ma'am, not at 2 o'clock in the morning." Then you can kind of think, "Okay,
yep,
what's going on
exactly.
there?"
Yep,
I've been to, I don't know about you, but I've been to other places where there's rumors of something and management go, "Oh, I've never experienced anything." And you go in and you go, "Whoa, what's that?"
yeah,
And you may not experience anything throughout the course of the evening or even capture any kind of anomaly whatsoever
mhm,
on either audio or visual, but it's just got the vibe,
the
you
spidey
know?
senses, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then maybe that's because, you know what? Whoever is there is used to the manager, but they're not used to you and they wanna know what you're up to,
precisely, yep,
that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it is hype. And like, yeah, a lot of these places, like for instance, Waverly Hills
mhm.
in America. Now, Barbara, our co-host, she's been there and done
Oh, really?
a little investigation there. But you hear of lots of people online and they say, "Well, look, I've investigated Waverly Hills 4 times and there's been nothing every single time I've been." And then you get other people turn around saying that there was slamming cell doors and they got voices on audio and all the rest of it. So, I mean, is it maybe the fact that certain people are just incredibly susceptible to that and other people misidentify what they think is something paranormal when it's actually not? I don't know. But
Well,
there's so many.
it's like our teens. Sometimes, somebody will be holding, I don't know, the spirit box, and, they're getting no hits at all, like, there's nothing going on, and then you give it to another team member,
And
and they're
then
getting
boom.
all kinds of things, yeah. So I think it depends on the individual too.
Yeah, I do. I totally do. I mean, we made that ruling with doing EVPs in the
Mhm,
group. And when we first started out in quantum, it was like I'd start holding a session and then I'd run out of questioning or my throat was sore or I was really tired and I'd go, "Does anyone else want to jump in with questions?" I don't do that now
mhm,
because I've come to the conclusion that sometimes whoever's there is willing to talk to one person, but not that person,
yep,
or that person and that person, but not those people, because
yep,
I've done it before, held an EVP session, nothing, given it to someone else. They've held an EVP session, boom, instantly. First question, something, what it is, can't quite make it out, but it's definitely a something. So yeah, I think that it does depend on the individual, and I don't know whether that's because they have a gift or they're sensitive or whatever you want to call it, or maybe they're just closer to the veil than other people. Or maybe, it's like, I don't know, sometimes you meet people and you just don't like them, and you've got no reason why you don't like them. They've only said hello to you, but you're just not getting a good vibe. Maybe the ghosts are the same.
I think they
I
are.
don't like her. I don't get a good vibe off her. I'm not going to talk to her.
Yeah.
We always say that they're all standing around talking, like, let's piss them off. Don't speak to them. Don't say anything. Just be really quiet. And then one of them will say something. They'll go, oh, George, we told you not to say anything. Now they're going to be here all night. Yeah. Or the thing like we laugh about quite often, you're packing up your gear. And I'm going to start leaving a recorder going as I'm walking out the door from now on. You pack up your gear. They see you've packed it. And they go, oh, they've packed up their gear. Right, slam that door. Yeah. Fred, go on, slam that door. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yep.
And they're watching you and they know that you've packed up your gear. So, I'm going to do something and really annoy you guys because you're not going to capture it because all your equipment's packed up and in your suitcases now. I actually think that is a real thing as well, because the amount of times people say, we got nothing all night until we put everything away.
Yeah, they're just messing with us.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're messing with us. Yeah. And so I think both of those things definitely about, sometimes they're just more inclined to talk to some people over others, maybe.
I kind of, it's kind of like when you go to somebody's house and they have a cat or a dog, and they might absolutely love you, but ignores the person that you're there visiting with. It just kind of like that.
Yeah, they gravitate towards certain people. Actually, I used to have people come in and my cats would gravitate towards them, and they go, I don't even like cats. And I'm like, yeah, and they know that, and they're going to make sure you do by the time you leave.
Yep.
They're making a definite beeline for you and ignoring everyone else in the house who loves cats.
Yep.
But, look, we've gone off subject, and we are up to the coming up to hour and 10 minutes now.
Oh,
so
yes. Wow.
Probably should give it a wind up. Hey, thanks for coming on, Kat, and having a chat about all these places and your experiences and your team. And you host your own podcast, right?
I do, yes. It's called Paranormal Heart Podcast. It gets released every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. I mainly use pre-records, but every once in a while, like tonight, I did have a live episode, and I'm starting to really like live because you get a lot of people in the chat, and I just love connecting with the people in the chat. It's just amazing. I love that. But with my work schedule, I can't always do it.
We don't get a great deal of people live because we haven't been, I think we've only been running for just over 2 months now, 2.5 months.
Really? Wow, okay.
Or is it 3 months now? I can't remember. Let me have a look, just out of curiosity. Where did we go? We started halfway through March, 1, 2. So this will be our third full month.
Nice.
Well done. I mean, we'll get anywhere between 4 to 9 people in the chat, but I still like that interactiveness. I still like them asking questions and saying hi rather than talking to a person when we know no one's actually watching at this point in time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But,
Kat, I absolutely agree with you on the lives. I get a real good vibe from doing lives as well. But sometimes, particularly in this instance, time factors and time zones don't allow for it. But please do flick me the message with your
the link?
A link to your podcast. Yeah, please. And I'll put it in the description below. Sure. That'd be great. Yeah. And if you've got have you guys got a website for your group or anything like that, or a Facebook page?
Yeah, but I can't remember what it's called. That's okay. Just Google Canadian Supernatural Research Society, and you should be able to find it. And for my podcast, I'm on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, pretty much wherever you find a podcast. And I've been with a network for 8 months now called United Public Radio Network. and 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 Gulf Coast. Ever since I've been with the network, my numbers are still low on all my other platforms, but the network, like, I'm getting tens of thousands of people watching and listening. I think my last episode last week, I had over 300,000 people tune in through the network, and I'm just blown away.
Wow.
Like, it's a global thing. So I'm so thankful to be with UPRN now, and I've met so many great hosts and wonderful people listening, and it's just an amazing thing.
Oh my God. What is UPRN again?
United Public Radio Network.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh dear. United Public Radio Network. Oh, okay. I don't think we've got anything like that. Excuse me. Yeah, actually, that's a shame. That would have been good to be involved in
Yeah.
if we'd had something of the equivalent. All right. So, okay, don't forget to flick me through that, and I'll put it down there
will.
for our viewers so they can go and flick me your YouTube one so they can go and have a watch.
Yes, I will.
And just want to say thanks so much for staying up so late. I'm going to let you go.
Thank you so
Get
much.
some Zeds now.
It's my pleasure. I just want to quickly mention too, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I have an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com.
I'll put that up there too.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again,
Had a lot
Pat,
of fun.
and
Thank you.
we'll talk again soon.
Definitely have to have you on mine too.
That'd be awesome. Would love to.
Yeah.
All right. Take
Much
care.
love. Bye.
Bye.